Hi, my name is Rich Roberts. I'm a medical doctor and a doctor of biophysics, and I was the president and CEO of a pharmaceutical company for 24 years. The LakewoodScoop.com has requested that I do this video to sort of outline or describe what's going on in the presidential election at this point, and I may also post this to my YouTube and Facebook sites. So here's what's going on. There are a ton of videos, of claims, of conspiracy theories, of 500,000 votes for Trump have been found in a landfill, and the Pentagon, stamped each vote secretly with a secret hologram. Okay. And it goes on and on. And then we found these other votes here, and these people testify. These people claim that they were not allowed to see the votes being cast in Philadelphia and other places. Okay, all of this stuff is really fun or entertainment, because the truth is, all of this stuff doesn't make any difference whatsoever. The only thing that makes a difference at this point are the lawsuits, the litigation that President Trump's campaign is able to mount, and how the courts will act or react to that litigation. That's the only thing that matters. People think they have proof of fraud this way, proof of fraud that way. The only proof that will matter is the proof that can be submitted to a court and that a court finds to be valid. So people can knock themselves out, but it's only what the Trump attorneys find to be proof and prepare and submit to the court that will have any bearing on what's going on. Otherwise, everything else is just speculation, entertainment, and truly has no impact on the final outcome. Now, clearly there was fraud, because there is fraud in every election. But there's definitely an appearance of massive fraud in this one, due to the fact that with the coronavirus, many Democrat governors use this as an excuse to mail out ballots to every registered voter, instead of each voter having to request a ballot or to go in person so that you can identify who they are. Things have been done of mailing ballots out in some states to every voter. In some states, the signatures have not been checked, so there could be one vote or 1,000 votes or 100,000 votes or 500,000 votes that have come in where there's the same handwriting, the same signature on every vote, and they just wrote the person's name, but it doesn't. They wrote the registered voter's name, but it doesn't match that person's signature on the voting records of that county or in that state. So the question becomes, so people say, well, the will of the people has spoken. Well, okay, there are more votes, thereby giving an electoral college majority to Joe Biden. But the question is, how many of those votes are valid and how many are fraudulent? Now, the news services have including Fox, which I'm surprised about, have said we've called the election. We've called the election for Joe Biden. Okay, well, that's very self-aggrandizing of them, making them feel like they're big and important. But that doesn't have any power, no value, no force of law at all. It doesn't matter. It only matters at this point what the courts rule. Now, the Democrats are making just unbelievable misdirection plays to try to convince people somehow to accept the results. For example, like Senator Chuck Schumer said today, that we just have to, President Trump has to just accept the election results because there's so many pressing issues facing the country, like coronavirus. Okay, but if he thinks Joe Biden is going to do a better job on coronavirus. That's not going to happen until later in January when the next president is sworn in. Until then, President Trump is still the president. So what he's saying has no legitimacy, no value whatsoever. It doesn't matter whether President Trump accepts or does not accept the outcome of the election at this point. The one who has the power, at least from a White House and federal perspective, to affect how we're treating coronavirus is still President Trump. So Senator Schumer is just saying stuff that just has nothing to do with the subject of who won the election. Now, if someone just rolled into your town and he said he's very wealthy and he has a truck full of cash and he shows you the truck and it's full of cash, might you want to see? So does he have millions of dollars? Yes, but might you want to see if those millions of dollars are real? Maybe he's a counterfeiter. Is this real money? Is this counterfeited money? If it's counterfeit, it has no value. So that's what we're trying to get to now, or that's what the Trump campaign is trying to get to now. So you have states where the voters that registered, they have their signatures on record at the states, and the states didn't even check the signatures. Or the vote counters who were supposed to be checking the signatures, according to the Republicans, the Republicans were, even though they were in those facilities, they were kept so far back from the positions to monitor whether those signatures actually match, whether the signature on the ballot, the vote that came in actually matches the voter roll that the voting commission or the state or the county has, that the Republicans couldn't confirm whether those are legitimate signatures or not. So if a court will allow a recount, they'll have to mandate the conditions where there'll be lawyers for both sides as each vote gets counted, and they'll be comparing the signatures of the vote that came in to the signature that's on the file. Similarly, some states, again, some Democrat states don't require any proof of citizenship. So yeah, there are more votes for Biden in terms of distribution in the states to give him a win on the electoral college, but it's only United States citizens that can vote in an United States election. Let's find out if the votes are from citizens or they're just fraudulent. An interesting thing, I'm a football fan. And in football, if a team makes like a big play down the field and the receiver caught the ball, but it's actually very close. Maybe the receiver didn't really catch the ball because his foot was right almost out of bounds. That team will usually try to run up to the line and hike the ball and start the next play, so it's too late for anybody to challenge the result. So with the Democrats now ranting and raving that we've got to get on and you have to accept the election results. Excuse me. This is Wednesday. The election was last Tuesday. So we're 8 days after the election. In the year 2000, when Al Gore, the Democrat, challenged the election results, it took, with the case going to the Supreme Court, 36 days after the election to determine who's the winner. So anyone who's trying to get you to accept that this is the final result is either ignorant of the truth or they are actively and consciously and intentionally trying to mislead you. There is not a result yet. There is a result that is not confirmed, which means it's not a result. And it may be, the result may be very different. The end result may be very different once we find out if the fraud occurs. So please, when people send you stuff, we found a million votes in the toilet of this, this men's room somewhere. I mean, okay, if you like getting all riled up, if this is your version of a sport, that's fine. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. And the big news agencies, the new big news stations, Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, we call the election for Biden. Call the election for Biden. Okay, but they have no power to. Okay, well, I say I'm the president of the United States. I'm the president of the United States. Okay, I can say it, but there's no power of law. It's not the truth. The truth will be when the election result is final, and that will hopefully be after the litigation is decided, and hopefully it's decided in a fair and truthful manner. Now, I am not an attorney. I don't know the legal theories under which the Trump administration is going to excuse me, my little earpiece is falling out, is going to challenge these things. But I can tell you that law is very specific. And as far as I know, the right to conduct elections is given to the states. Trump would like to get this issue before the federal government, and there are ways to do that because that's what happened with Gore versus Bush. So there are ways to get this before the federal government. And by the way, in states, typically the judges are the state judges are elected in those states. So the judges themselves are political partisans. But that's why Trump very much would like to get this out of state court and get it into federal court, where he'll be able to hopefully have a fair and truthful showing. So the results are not in yet. The results are not done yet. And by the way, I was interviewed on election night. A well-known publication contacted me, and the reporter said, "I guess you're watching the results." I said, "No." "What? You're not watching the results?" "No." "Why not?" I said, "Because either one side is having a landslide victory over the other, which, quite frankly, I'll tell you, let's go back now. About 3 months ago, the New York Times called me to interview me, and they wanted to know if large Republican donors and strategists were abandoning the president and just trying to keep the Senate. And I said, no, not at all. We're backing President Trump. And I said, as a matter of fact, I think President Trump is going to win a landslide victory. And the reporters from New York Times said, well, you're the only one saying that. I said, okay, so what? That's what I say. Now, don't bother to go look up that story because they didn't print it. I didn't say what they would like me to say. So, and I get that from the press a lot. They try to put words in my mouth and I won't go for it. But, when you look at the Trump rallies that occurred, where they were overwhelmingly, attended by Trump supporters, and you look at the Biden, the few or infrequent rallies that he had that were really quite anemic, and then this result, I've learned in business and in life, there's something. I didn't make it up. It's called the sniff test. When you have a whiff that something isn't right, you better look into it. If it smells foul, there probably is something foul going on. And when you see the Democrats now are trying to run up to the line of scrimmage and quickly hike that ball before the referee, which in this case would hopefully be the Supreme Court, can weigh in, then it starts to get you very suspicious. So I don't know what will happen, but there's nothing more that we as the public can do. As far as I know, we can pray, which is Orthodox Jews. That's what we do. But after that, it will be what it will be, whether we're watching the news 24 hours a day and seeing people saying the same thing over and over again, another expert saying the same thing, and the ball doesn't actually move down the field at all. So if we see it happen, Supreme Court rules, court rulings, final court rulings, and if there's actions that are taken, such as recounts, with people watching those recounts, then we'll see. I have a sneaking suspicion that President Trump will be reelected. Some people say, well, there's going to be violence in the streets. Okay, so bring it on. Whatever it is, it is. We're not going to let communists or socialists, socialists are really just communists that are that are masquerading under the word of socialism, hoping that socialism will somehow be more acceptable. But I mean, for example, Black Lives Matter, it's been on their website. I think they might have taken it down now, but they said they're Marxists. You know what Marxist is? Karl Marx was the one who created communism. They said they were trained, the leaders of Black Lives Matter, trained Marxists. Did you notice anything strange that there were all these Black Lives Matter, socialist, anarchist riots going on in cities all around the country, and the Democrats were supporting them and kneeling, in the halls of Congress. Democrats are doing it, supporting them, and then all of a sudden, when they found out that the vast majority of the American public, including or especially black people who live in the ghetto or the slums, who are trying to make their lives good and are trying to work for a living and raise their children, and they're the ones who are subject to this violence. They don't want the police to be defunded. They want the police that will protect them from the drug gangs and other criminals that are roaming their neighborhoods. So did you notice that all of a sudden, when it was like about a month before the election, maybe 6 weeks before the election, and the polling showed that the vast majority of Americans are against defunding police, all of a sudden these riots stopped? What's going on there? They stopped. There was something in Philadelphia shortly right before the election, but I mean, that's one small exception. But the vast majority, they just stopped. So, whose agenda is the communist agenda of Black Lives Matter? Is it the Republicans or the Democrats? Are the Democrats trying to seize power now in what very well may be a stolen or fraudulent election? Or are they willing to let this play out with the Supreme Court weighing in, hopefully Supreme Court, and let's get to an honest, truthful, legal conclusion? So that's it. This point, don't waste your time. I mean, unless you find it entertaining, pray and live your lives. Thank you very much for listening and watching.